In this video I'm going to be showing you how to use a telephoto lens with an extension tube. It's early May, so everything's just starting to come out, so I've got some nice flowers to photograph. But there's tons of wild garlic. If I just show you down here, loads of wild garlic, really beautiful plant to photograph, gorgeous smell as well. I like it, not everybody does. So first thing I'm going to do is to concentrate on this. I'm going to try and find a specific flower to concentrate on. So what I often look for with this type of photography is any flowers that are just slightly raised from all the others, and I've got two here that are perfect. They're just sticking up a bit higher than all the other plants here. So what that's going to do is allow you to isolate the flower more easily, and it's also going to improve the background as well. So I've got two here, both are good candidates, but I think this one is probably the one I'm going to go for. So I'm going to have a look around that side, check for the composition and for the background. Very important with this type of photography that you've got a decent sturdy tripod, so I've got my Enduro tripod. Also, I've got a new head on it. It's a Manfrotto fluid head. I might do a review. Let me know if you want me to do a review on it actually. I've forgotten the exact name of this head, but it's quite a commonly used one. And this is the first time I've used this for plant photography, for macro photography. It's a really chunky head and it's got a very wide base on it. So I'm thinking that is going to provide very stable support for the 300mm lens that I've got with me. But before I put the camera on the tripod, I'm going to take a test shot and I'm going to do that handheld. Just using the 300mm lens on its own, this distance is as close as I can get to focus, which is around 2 meters. So that's around 2 meters from the end of the lens to the subject that I'm photographing. Well, the image isn't too bad, but I want to get in closer, I want to fill the frame a bit more and soften the background. So to do that, I'm going to need to add the extension tube. You can see now I've managed to get the camera much closer than I had before. So when I did the test shot, it was about 2 meters away. The front of the lens was about 2 meters away from the subject. Now I've put the extension tube on, moved closer, and I did measure this because I knew some boffin had asked me how close I could get. So I measured it and it was about 1.35 meters. So what I'd advise is you don't go to the minimum focusing distance exactly. You're better to go to the minimum focusing distance and then just back off a couple of inches, because that gives you room to tweak your focus, gives you a bit of leeway, if that makes sense. I have the camera horizontally at the moment in the landscape format. I'm sure a lot of you realise that this is going to look better if I do it as a vertical composition, because you've kind of got the stem of the plant running up and it all just fits much better into a vertical format. So I'm definitely going to turn the camera around. This is why lens foots are fantastic like this. Just twist the little knob and you can turn it round and you don't have to fiddle about with the tripod head. Also, because I'm shooting towards the sun, even though it's diffused, I'm shooting in the direction of where the sun is, which means I'm getting just a very slight, a touch of backlighting as well, which is even better. What I wanted to do was just keep it really simple. I think it's a good idea to just keep it simple at first, which was just to have a really nice clean image of the flower, to isolate the flower, to really throw the background out of focus, and just concentrate on that really. So what I've done in terms of the composition, I'm shooting towards the leaves that are on the ground. So when they go out of focus, they create a nice clean backdrop, but also a nice colour, kind of like an orangey brown colour when they go out of focus. The light is now being incredibly awkward. So I actually chose today because it was forecast to be cloudy all day and the winds are very low. They were saying 3 to 4 miles an hour. So that's why I've chosen today specifically, so I have no problems with subject movement in the wind. But you can see the sun's popping out and that's causing me a real problem. I've got the tripod to the correct height. I thought I might have to go lower, but this is as low as I need to go. If I need to, I can spread this tripod completely flat. But in this case, I don't need to do that. So it's a little bit more comfortable. So I'm going to decide my settings now. again, with this telephoto lens, what we're doing, we're kind of using the characteristics of a telephoto lens, which really helps to isolate your subject and throw the background out, but we're just using an extension tube to make it more applicable to macro photography and get us physically closer. So the background's looking superb. Aperture would be my next decision, and I want to keep the aperture fairly wide. Instead of using the maximum aperture of this lens, which is f4, I'm going to go down a little bit. What that's going to do is just give me a little bit more sharpness in the flower, but it's not going to affect the background too much. Background's still going to stay nice and soft. So I'm going to go down to, I'm going to go to f5. Just come down a little bit. Now I want to keep the ISO low because I want to get the best quality and avoid getting noise, but there is a slight bit of movement going on at the moment, so I'm gonna judge how slow a shutter speed I can use to still get a sharp picture. I'm gonna go for ISO 400. Okay, so I've now got ISO 400, f5, so those are kind of my two main exposure values that I'm choosing. The shutter speed is going to be more irrelevant. The shutter speed is giving me about 1/80th of a second. Now I think that's going to be absolutely fine here. Nice. Focusing is just so important here. You want to pick your focus, you don't want to leave it to the camera. So I'm using manual focus as I always do for macro photography, making sure the lens is on manual focus. In terms of the focusing, I'm going to use live view because I just think it's a bit easier, maybe a bit more comfortable, and also it's a bit more accurate for macro photography. You can be really careful and selective in your focusing. So I'm going to switch it on to live view. I'm going to press the little zoom button. I'm going to zoom in to ×5, and then just by eye I'm going to focus it. And where do we focus? That can be a difficult decision. Over the years I've decided that the best way to do it is to look at the subject and decide where your eye is drawn to. So that's what I do. I'm looking here, looking at this garlic flower, and kind of the petals in the middle. My eye is drawn to that. Very simple, at the front, near the centre. That's where my eye is really drawn to. So I'm going to focus on that. I'm also going to use the 2-second timer, so that means that I don't have to touch the camera when I'm taking the picture to reduce the vibration. You could use a remote release, really doesn't matter I don't think. I just find it much easier setting the 2-second timer, then pressing the shutter, keep my hands off, let the camera fire. This light is much better again now. The sun kept coming and going. When it came out, it was just destroying the detail. It looks really horrible. Now it's gone back much cloudier, gone back to that softer, diffuse light on the woodland floor, which is absolutely perfect for photographing this garlic. And yeah, I'm very, very happy. This is a truly beautiful woodland. If you want to see more videos from me on flowers and macro photography, then click the playlist that's up here, and if you're not subscribed, do click the subscribe button in the corner, but make sure you click on the bell icon to be notified every time I upload a new video. And I'll see you somewhere in nature sometime soon, and just for now I won't say stay safe, I'll say stay sane. I'll see you next time.